everyone, it's A Dog's Life with Angela Ardolino, and I'm so excited today because one of these things that the quarantine has allowed me to do is get caught up on who the heck I want on my show. And I mean, it's funny because I remember when we first started this podcast, which, gosh, I think in August we're going to come up on a year, which is crazy to think of. I made a list of some of the people that I wanted, and this person has been on that list from the very beginning, but because our lives are crazy, we're finally getting the opportunity to talk here on the podcast. So I want to introduce you to one of my favorite people. She's so much fun. From the first day that we met, we were laughing our asses off together, and really kind of, I don't know, I felt like I was the new girl that came into the new school, and you let me sit at your table, and that was really nice of you. So I want to introduce everyone to you. Please welcome Dr. Josie Beug. Beug, did I say it correct?
Beug.
Beug, darn it. But that is why you were known as Dr. Josie.
Dr. Josie.
Because everyone probably says it wrong. So you gave up and said, just call me Dr. Josie, that's how we all know you. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to finally make it here. It's been...
So I'm sure after, I'm going to have you tell everyone who you are and what you've done in your career as a vet. And I'm sure after they hear this, they'll find out why you're one of my favorites. But tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're so different.
How I'm so different. I went to veterinary school because I wanted to practice holistic and alternative medicine. I actually started studying herbs and herbology for myself when I was in college. I've been going to see a chiropractor since I was 14 years old, and in a car accident with my parents. The last time I was at a conventional MD's was when I was 18 to get a physical to get into college. So I found out animals were my love. They've always been my love. And I went to college to get a degree in biology, and then I was like, well, what do I do with a degree in biology? And I started working at humane societies and vets, and I found out they were doing acupuncture and herbal medicine for animals, and that's when I was like, that's what I want to do. So then I applied to veterinary school. So I walked into veterinary school knowing I had to go through their education, but then I designed my own side education where I sought out some of the earliest holistic vets in this country and some of the best, Alan Schoen, Stephen Blake, there's a whole, Cheryl Schwartz, Eeyore Basco. And I went to the conferences and I walked up to them and I said, I want to come hang out at your clinic and I want to apprentice. I want to learn what you guys are doing. And so every break I had, I went and worked with somebody like that while I was going through vet school. So,
What were some of the most shocking, not to interrupt, but what were some of as a young person, what were some of the most shocking things that you discovered when you were being apprentice with finding natural things, doing what some of pharmaceutical things can do?
It's funny because I already knew natural things could do that, and I already knew the damage that pharmaceuticals could do. So, but I mean, one of the best things that I saw was Eeyore Basco walked into a conference lecture, and he had this cookie sheet with these amazing magical mushrooms like reishis and the ganodermas and the chagas and the turkey tails, and my eyes started spinning in my head, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what do you do with these? I want to learn this kind of medicine, And that's when I immediately set up a time to fly over to Hawaii, and I did one of my externships with them on Kauai. Spent like 2 weeks.
Oh my God, that's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in the world.
Yeah. And it was pure magic. And I've always been involved in like spirituality and Native American shamanism and things like that. And he just took me to really magical places. Magical things happened to me on that island. So
very cool. So tell us, what are some of the things you've seen like mushrooms do? Or, I mean, You mentioned
I,
chiropractic when you got in a car accident, which I'm sure changed your life. It's amazing how a chiropractic adjustment, how acupuncture can take a dog who is not moving its hindquarters to walking. And I don't think people understand that our animals go through a lot of the same things that we do, and they need adjustments almost more than we do, because we know not to run like a maniac through the woods, but my
yeah.
dog doesn't, and he does.
Yeah, I mean, some dogs, it's funny, some dogs are harder on their bodies than others. But I had one case where I walked in and this really nice couple had this black dog, and they called me. And when I got to their house, the dog was laying on its side. It couldn't even lift its head up, and it was having trouble breathing.
Wow.
And I literally looked at the animal and was like, this dog is on its way out. It's a way across the veil. And I told them, I said, your dog may be suffering. And they're like, well, you just give it a try. They begged me. They were like, got down on their hands and knees and literally said, just give it a try. And I was fairly new to my acupuncture practice. I put the needles in and I said, I will treat your dog if you promise me you have to call me tomorrow. And if your dog is not sitting up and not eating and not doing better, then we need to make a tough decision here. And they called me up and they said, come over to the house. So I thought I was going over there to put the dog to sleep. And I pulled up in front of their house and they opened the front door, and that dog came bounding out the front door at me. So sometimes I don't.
I mean, would you agree that, like, what I see is, people think, I mean, cannabis medicine is incredible, but an animal, I've seen this now for the past 5 years. I've been treating animals with cannabis medicine, and most of them are on, they've already been told by a vet that they should be put down. They haven't gotten up and walked. They get one dose of a full spectrum, heavy dose of a full spectrum, and they're up and they're alive, and people think it's a miracle. And what they don't understand is that the same thing's happening that happens in getting acupuncture or chiropractic, is that when we're in pain, we can tell you we're in pain. We can tell you, okay, now I've been in pain for 3 days and now I'm depressed. Now I don't feel good. And dogs don't do that. So when you relieve that pain and you open up the communication, let's say it's, a nerve cut or something's off or a disc is off. And when you open up and you relieve that inflammation and pain and open up that communication to the brain, your dog is going to come back alive again. So it's not a miracle. It's them telling you something's off and I need help.
Yeah,
and instead of throwing a pharmaceutical at it, do an adjustment, try something natural and safe.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that can be done, and I mean with acupuncture, and I think I love the CBD and cannabis with the acupuncture, because acupuncture works with both the endocrine system, the nervous system, the immune system, because when you put a needle in, it stimulates the immune response, it stimulates endocrine responses and the hormones, and also nerve, and cannabis does the same thing. It integrates those three. So that's why I love working with them together. I really, I put almost, now I've started using it in my practice, goodness, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I put most of my practice is either elderly animals or chronic disease, cancer, autoimmune, allergies, and pretty much every single one of my patients is on a CBD.
Wonderful. We're gonna take a short break, but when we come back, I want you to tell everyone about your training at the Chi Institute. Did I say that right? Did I say that right? And I want to talk about a couple things. First, the 5 elements, which is the name of your practice and what you practice and believe in. And I would love for you to explain that to us that don't know much about it.
The 5 elements, traditional Chinese veterinary medicine is based upon it's kind of a spiritual cosmological philosophical school called Taoism. And the Taoists, they were actually ancient. They were Chinese versions of what people call shaman nowadays. There were these old men who lived up in the mountains and did a lot of contemplation and meditation and observation of the world around them. And they came up with a system of 5 elements. In Western thought, they had the 4 elements: air, fire, water, and earth. The Chinese have 5 elements, and they didn't understand molecular or genetics or anything like that, but they knew there were elemental processes underlying all of reality. So these elemental processes, the interaction between them, create and manifest the 3rd dimensional reality we see around us. So our body, our health, the weather, the stool I'm sitting on, everything. Okay.
So the Chinese medicine is something that is for humans. How did it, come over and adapt into animals and animal health?
Well, the Chinese had animals, and they had all the farm animals, and they had chickens and cows and horses and pigs and camels and all of them. And there isn't the legend, and I don't know how true it is, but that acupuncture originated when a war horse got stabbed by an arrow, and they realized these animals would get these injuries and then they would be better. But actually they used that was their medicine. It was a huge, full medical system that was more, it talked about lifestyle. They had food therapy, they had acupuncture, they had Chinese herbal medicine, they had Tai Chi and Qigong, exercise. So it was an entire system, lifestyle system. What we're just coming up with functional medicine nowadays. I mean, it's over 2,000 years old.
Right.
So, they used it for all their farm animals. There's ancient acupuncture charts for chickens, for cows, for pigs, for horses. So
I know recently someone sent me something showing that they were using cannabis, of course, as one of their tools back there, which I love to see that that history of this all natural product being used,
one of
all
the
of natural herbs being used.
Well, yeah, because they looked at the world around them and they were in partnership with it. So they were in partnership with the plants. It wasn't what is that plant? How is that plant going to help me out? It was like, okay, all these plants around me. One of the earliest Taoist herbalists, Gahong, he developed the 5 tastes. So he would sit there and nibble on plants and then see what they tasted like and what the effect was. What energy channels it opened up. Did it create heat? Wow. Did it create dampness? That's how they developed their herbal system 2,000 years ago. And we're still using those same formulas now. There's a formula I use right now for constipation that has hemp seed in it. Mm-hmm. So, but the Chinese herbal medicine is much more complicated than Western herbal medicine. They use a lot of combination formulas. They're really balanced. Yeah.
Cool. And what is the Qi Institute?
The Qi Institute is, my teacher came from, Dr. Shea, came from a 3rd generation acupuncture family in China. He tells stories of going with his grandfather up into the mountains of China and gathering herbs, harvesting herbs for their pharmacy at home. So he came to the United States to finish up, he was in veterinary school in China. He came here to do some PhD work, and his PhD thesis professor had a stroke. And they told him that he wasn't going to recover. And Dr. Shea was like, well, I could stick some acupuncture needles in you. On the side. He wasn't really licensed to do it. Nobody was really, and especially to treat a human. Well, he treated him and he got better and had almost a full recovery, I believe. the way the story goes. So then he was at the University of Florida Veterinary School at the time. So he was able to then open up the vet school enough. So he started a acupuncture rotation, traditional Chinese veterinary medicine rotation at the veterinary school. Then he wanted to expand that. And so he wanted to teach American vets how to do acupuncture. So he started his own school called the Chi Institute. And that has grown into, I go up there and teach every couple months. But that's grown into a huge, huge school. It's beautiful.
And what are the things that they teach? And are they
They-
teaching all just vets?
It's just vets. You have to be a licensed veterinarian or a student. They're actually accepting veterinary students. So they're teaching all the main branches of traditional Chinese veterinary medicine. The branches are acupuncture, Tui Na, which is their form of massage and body work, food therapy, herbal medicine, and what's the other one? I can't remember. Those are the main four that they're doing right now.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. I know. I remember begging you that if I could come, but I'm not a vet. Because that I would love to know. And it's all just for animals. It's not, it's all
it's veterinary
for animals, which I think is amazing, because a lot of people don't understand that what you learn in vet school is not, you don't get to learn about these different modalities. You don't get to learn about different practices.
No.
You don't even get to learn about essential oils, herbs, anything that's natural. So, or diet and nutrition. So,
when I was in vet school, I was a president of our student chapter of AVMA, the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association. So I would bring speakers in because I wanted to learn about it. So I introduced.
That's how I end up at vet schools. The students and the presidents find me and invite me. I love it.
Yeah. So I did that a lot, and
So people don't understand that everything that a vet knows beyond what they're taught in school is something that you have to do on your own to expand and learn and then practice. And then I'm sure that there's people or even colleagues that maybe think that you're crazy or a witch or don't know what you're doing. And that's one of the reasons I love you.
I am a witch. I'll just call it.
Wait, was that an insult, calling me a witch? Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
I've been called a cannabis witch or a cannabis bitch before, and I'm like, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Maybe another reasons why I love you so much. I know that you believe in the powers and the energies of plants and flowers, medicine. And do you call it flower medicine? Or plant medicine?
I've been making flower essences a year ago. I went through a really tough patch in my personal life, and I was determined. I'm like, I'm not going to go down this deep, dark tunnel hole. And all these flowers, I live in South Florida, and all these flowers just started literally jumping out in front of me and like offering themselves up to me for their medicine. So I started making flower essences and what's called vibrational remedies. Now, this kind of goes back in the early 30s. There was a gentleman named Edward Bach in England, and he was a doctor, and he developed these flower essences that worked on an emotional level. Because a lot of times in our Western world, we're so linear. We separate. We have the physical body, then we put the emotions over here, and then we put the spiritual over here, and then we put our mental thing over there, and we put everything away in these boxes, whereas it's all interconnecting, and that's another beautiful thing about cannabis, because it interconnects it all. So you can't, a lot of people will see healing, a lot of disease states will actually start out in the emotional or mental body before they ever manifest as a physical disease. So if you start treating things in the emotional and mental and vibrational bodies out here before they manifest physically, you're going to be way ahead of the game.
I love that. I love that thinking, because we know as human beings that stress and anxiety and all of that causes disease in us. And we now know that it also causes disease in our pets and in the animals. So I love that it's you're being proactive instead of reactive, and even doing something ahead of time. I mean, right now I've got my diffuser, blown away. I mean, it's not anything that is out there in the natural world that is going to help my mood and my health. By all means, bring it on. And guess what? Most of the time it helps our pets too.
Exactly. And our pets, I really feel like our pets we live in these little 4 square walls, so separated from the natural world. And these animals that live with us in those 4 square walls are our last connection to that natural world. But then they take on so much of our stress. They never get a break from it, except when we go to work. And now here, everybody's at home.
Right. So let's talk. We got to go take another break, and we're going to talk about that, because it's funny, because the rumors out there is that dogs are so happy to have the humans home, but not all of them. We're both finally getting together on my podcast, because we're in quarantine, and we just brought up a wonderful subject matter, which is, a lot of people it's funny, because I don't know if you are getting more calls or more consultations. I know you're going online and doing consultations now, right?
Yeah, I'm finally got it together for next week. I'm going to start appointment times. So, if people are interested, they can find me for consults.
I think is awesome, because you can, you'd be able to show your pet and be able to talk to you one-on-one. So I love that you're doing that. But people think that, and I'm sure there's some excitement from your pet that if you go to work every day or go to school every day, and that at first they were probably excited when you didn't go anywhere for the first week or two, but people don't understand that pets need a lot of sleep, and they probably got a lot of that sleep while you were gone. Yep. And they can feel your stress and anxiety. And I know we are all stressed and anxious. It's so hard not to be, because the moment you meditate or go off into something nice and forget about what's going on in the world, you get reminded, and we don't know what the future holds. So everybody is stressed and anxious, and our pets feel it. What are some things that we can do as pet parents?
I found, actually, with my own animals, for one, I'm getting outside with my dog. I have asked and been shown some secret little paths that have yet to be shut off from dog brain. So, but then I'm giving them their time, making sure they do have that nap time, because my cats, they'll post up on my bed and sleep 6 hours a day. And I didn't, like you said, a lot of the times they're sleeping when we're at work and not home. And they still need that quiet time. So if we're harassing them and we want, especially being in quarantine, I'm sure some people want to cuddle them and hold them and everything all the time, but allow them their own space as well. I think that's really important. And then also I'm going to put out a second video, but just there's some things on acupressure that you can do for your pet, and even grounding and centering exercises, meditation, so that you can relax and your pet can relax without dumping all of your stuff onto your pet. Because they are like little sponges, and they're there to help us unconditionally, kind of in this altruistic thing. But a lot of times they just absorb our stress. So instead of giving it to them, there are other ways we can send it down into the earth in meditations. We can sit and give them an acupressure massage to allow them to relax, which will then allow us to relax. So we get kind of a loop of relaxation going between the two.
I love
that. The essential oils are great. You have to be a little bit careful with diffusing them all the time. I always make sure my animals have a place to go where they don't smell it if they want to get away from it.
Okay. We want to make sure that our essential oils are truly pure essential oils.
And essential oils, they're potent medicine. I mean, if you think about the amount of medicine it takes to make one little tiny vial of essential oil. I have a friend, an herbalist over in Naples, and she just made, she's becoming the alchemist in quarantine, but she took all her lemongrass, and out of this giant bushel thing of lemongrass, she made a little tiny vial of,
here's us doing the same thing. We're making smudge sticks with our lemongrass.
Well, she actually distilled it and got the oil. but it was just a few. I mean, we're talking 1 cc. So you're concentrating all that into that amount.
Think about hemp seed oil, which is so
Yeah.
wonderful and beneficial on its own. Doesn't have any cannabinoids, but it is an amazing oil in itself. It is pressing the seed. So imagine how much you get out of 1 seed. So yeah, I don't think people understand that. But what are some favorites that they could diffuse that would help animals and the whole family kind of calm?
The thing that I always do with essential oils, and this goes back to a woman, one of my favorites in the UK, Carolyn Ingraham, and she always lets the animal choose their essential oil.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, so if you open especially with dogs' sense of smell is so acutely sensitive. If you were in a football field and your dog was on 1 yard line, 0 yard line, and you were at the opposite end and you opened a bottle of essential oil, that dog could smell it that far away.
Wow.
Okay, so if you open a bottle near your dog, watch their reaction to it. If they want that oil and that oil, they need it and it's going to do the right thing for their body, they will come over and they'll take a sniff right out of the bottle. Okay, so test it out, see what their reaction is. Sometimes I'll open a bottle of essential oil and my cats are like, I got to get out of here, and they run. Right. So don't force it on them, you know.
And I've also come into a room where I've left it on and I've got them laying by it and I'm like, ooh, what is that? I pay attention to what
exactly. So let them choose and let them kind of go back and forth between them. But good ones, I mean, I love frankincense. I just love frankincense. I think frankincense opens up the crown chakra. I use it. I do a lot of death doula work and transition work, and I use it for that. And
it's
for
one
me,
of my favorites too.
It just brings a sense of peace. Lavender's good. Lavender's antiseptic. Lavender's antiviral, people. A very simple antiviral oil. I use it on airplanes. I put it in my nostrils. Just wipe it right inside my nostrils. So put it on the inside of your mask when you're walking around.
I love it. I love it. And also you can take a little drop and massage it, do the massaging that you were talking about into them, where, and of course cats, if it's a lavender essential or frankincense, which is safe for cats, they can lick it off and get the benefits from that. Well, I could talk all day with you, Dr. Josie. I've missed you and I can't wait to where I could see you again and hang out again. But I want you to tell everybody where they can find you, because I want to tune in and find out how to give my dog the massage you just mentioned. So where can they find you and tune in and all that good stuff, and find your flower essences? Are they available?
Yes, they are available. And I'm going to put more. I have a whole cabinet of them and I've just got to get them listed online if somebody's looking for a particular one. I've done all the tropicals. I also have a line of the poisonous flower essential oils, which are actually, I'm doing some things like that in terms of environmental toxins and treating possibly even this virus thing with some of those.
Wow, awesome.
On an energetic level. But so my main website is Dr. Josie, 5 elements.com. And then my flower essence site is molly-and-me.com, mollyandme.com. And if you're interested in a consult, you can get me at consultwithdrjosie@gmail.com. And I'm also I'm on Facebook.
Yes, you are. And I get your e-newsletters, which are always fun.
And I've got, you can sign up for my newsletters. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Josie Pet Vet. So, I'm pretty
find you. They can find you.
They can hunt me down.
I'm giving you a virtual hug. It's so nice to see you. I don't know when the heck we'll be able to leave and go to an event and see each other again, but it was really nice seeing you, and I'm glad you're safe and healthy.
Yeah, I'm glad you are too. It was awesome. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
I know. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.